All right. Hello, everybody. Officially, here we are at week number 5, studio session number 2 in the information architecture course. And as I said in the pre-recorded session, which was mercifully brief, you certainly have to say that instead of an hour and a half long blurb, I actually did manage to keep it down to something actually tolerably reasonable. At least I hope so. Um, next week will be different, and there's going to be a lot of good and solid info that's going to be coming across in that. So it's going to be another lengthy one next week, but chock full of what I hope is genuinely interesting information. In this particular session, the second studio session, the first studio session, as you may remember, is it's dedicated time for you to work on the assignments that have been given with your groups, and of course to also ask your professor, meaning me, if you have any particular questions, either about your target websites as pertains to this particular project. And of course we're talking about project number 1, which is due at next week. And any questions that you may have specific to the to this particular studio session. So, all right. So moving on. So I'm gonna again kind of reiterate what I talked about in the pre-recorded lecture. But again, I just want to make sure that everybody is on the same page with this. So this is what I'm looking for specifically in the project, along with the material that you already did for the first studio session. So again, based on your current knowledge, define the audience or audiences, the mission/vision, and the goals of your project website. Again, I did talk about this in the pre-recorded version. Again, you know, as I said, there's almost certainly going to be more than one audience that you identified. I would say try not to make it, you know, like don't go overboard with it. If for example you find that there is plausibly like a half dozen different types of audiences that could come to your website, I would say identify them, but then concentrate on, say, the top 2, possibly the top 3 that you think are the most important, and then talk about what you think the mission/vision for the website may be. One thing you might actually want to think about is that if, and this was actually brought up by me glancing at some previous assignments, is that what you can do is that you can see, for example, if there is an equivalent face page page for this particular website, and often they'll have a nice potted summary as to what their mission/vision is. So that's something you might want to just sort of do. You know, here's something that you can, you know, do a little bit of research tonight. And also, again, the goals of the project website. So knowing, you know, the website is there for a reason. The organization is putting it up for a purpose. It's either, it could be selling a good, for example, it could be selling a service, it could be essentially saying, you know, here we are, we exist, you know, look at us. No, okay, you want to do more than that. A good website will do more than that. But, you know, the idea is, you know, what is the raison d'etre for the website's existence? Why does it exist? And what does it aim to do in terms of trying to serve the audiences that are coming to the website? Okay, so that's my explanation for the first point. And then the second point is, as I say here, explore and comment on the information architecture anatomy of your project website, focusing on things like the organization systems that you see present, labeling systems, navigation, and search systems. And in terms of search systems, what I'm saying there is, like, you know, essentially, like, you know, where, if there is search on the website, where does it exist? And have you tried it out? Is it effective? You know, put it up against doing, say, a Google search. Does it come with the same results? And again, provide annotated screen captures when appropriate to illustrate the current IA anatomy. And again, you know, I love screenshots. It gives me much better idea as to the you know, the background of the target website that you're talking to. And then for number 3, provide examples of top-down or bottom-up IA present or, sorry, I'd like to see both if it's there, bottom-up IA present on your project website. Again, provide annotated screen captures where appropriate to illustrate your examples. And again, this is, essentially asking you to identify these features on the website and to essentially ask, like, what is the orientation of this particular website? Has it been, in your estimation, has it been created from the top down? And that is quite often the case. Or has a lot of thought gone into essentially bottom-up related discovery of things which are, say, adjacent to each other? I would say that for perhaps like a fairly relatively new website, the top-down approach is almost certainly going to predominate. In a website that may be around for a long time or has many pages, and I'm thinking here, for example, of say a museum website that has been around for a while, I would certainly hope that there are mechanisms that allow for sort of like a free-form way to be able to navigate through the website and to be able to find things in sort of a serendipitous manner. And then, again, last but not least, based on your current knowledge and experience using the project website, your target website, what do you believe are the main aspects your team will likely want to redesign? So at this point, you've been looking at the website, you've been living with it. Perhaps it's in your dreams at night. I don't know. Maybe that's going too far. I don't know. But by this point, you should have a good sense as to where there may be issues with the existing website. And certainly and again, you have to think of this from the focus of the audiences that are coming to the website. So you don't want to redesign the website to make it better for you. You want to make it better in terms of the audiences that are coming to the website. And again, please provide annotated screen captures to illustrate areas for improvement. And what we're going to be doing, by the way, in future sessions is that I will be giving you access to some professional information architecture tools that will allow you to essentially to test your theories as to whether, say, the existing organization for the website is effective or not, or the new labels that you may be thinking about coming up with are in fact better than what already exists, and also how to lay out the elements on the website, again, with an eye to improving what's already there. So again, and again, this is, again, if you're trying to build up a portfolio, again, you're going to be given access to some real tools. I will be talking about that in more detail beginning in the next class. And so saying, now I want to move on to, now hang on here, where is my mouse? Oh, yeah, that's right, I'm looking at the other screen. So now I want to give you some, again, just to give you some sense as to, more ideas of what I'm looking for. I'm going to look at a couple of other assignments that essentially covered what you're going to be looking at. So here, in this case, this is from one assignment from last year. In this case, they're looking at the context, content, and users for this site called ADCID, which is an art-centric website. And in this case, they managed to actually have a stakeholder interview with the co-founder and executive director, and get a sense as to how that website came about. Now, again, I'm not necessarily expecting that in this case. That's just what this particular group did. So in this case, they went and got a better understanding as to the goals and the stakeholders in this particular case, and they're upfront. The goal of this project is to create a more structured, easy to navigate ADCID website. Being able to discover what the organization does and how they accomplish it is essential for target audiences. And the owner of the site basically articulated a desire to move the organization's efforts away from project implementation and more into training and consultancy. So now that's inside knowledge in this particular case, which I'm not expecting in this instance, but they've gone and done the work, and they've been able to sort out what are the long-term goals for the website. But perhaps more pertinently in this case, we're again, looking at the users and audiences. And in this case, they were talking to, the person who ran the website, and he told them straight up, their main users are, as he sees it, funders, partners, collaborators, and people looking for training. The site's intended audiences are also those that can support the growth of its operations into training and consultancy, specifically potential funders and partners. And then they did a nice breakdown as to the types of audiences that were likely going to be coming to this website. Now, again, don't worry, like this, it's a nice graphic, that's fine. I'm not so much interested in that so much as the thought process that's gone behind it. So in this case, they do a listing of the various audience types that are coming to the website and what they're seeking. So funders include both arts funders and development funders. The former may show special interest in the theatrical methods used and the quality of participants' experiences and performances. Okay. Potential funders will look to establish trust with the organization based on the expertise of the program facilitators and so on. Partners such as Oxfam help facilitate programs or invite ADCID to help administer them. Potential partners might look into project history and types of services provided. Community members or collaborators are those that participate in ADCID's projects. Research organizations might be interested in exploring projects, outcomes, and theoretical frameworks for being implemented. And then ADCID team members and facilitators. So these are all the groups they identified. Having said that, they then essentially, focus on essentially, like two of those core groups. But they've done, in this case, they did a really nice job of identifying here are all the different audience types that could conceivably be coming to the website. They also spend, and again, I don't want you to go overboard on this, looking at the resources and infrastructure. Again, this is something that is coming from essentially the first studio session. In this case, they just have a couple of short paragraphs, and in this case, they identify how the website's being built and things of that nature in terms of how easy, how hard it is. Again, don't go overboard with this. I just want to know the basics. And then information on the content, and then material that is essentially derived from, in this case, from the first studio session. I'm just going to keep on going. And then we get to information about the existing information architecture for the site, and then how they are identifying the top-down approaches, in this case, 5 main headings: home, about, methods, projects, and training. And I'm just going to then go scroll down, and then the bottom-up approaches that do exist in this particular website, which includes, in this case, breadcrumbs, which help users understand their location of content within the site. This is a fairly new site, however, and there isn't a lot of material at this level, as it turns out. And then again, they come up with ideas as to who the representative users are, groups, and so forth. And then essentially there's sort of testing how this would then work in terms of essentially testing these particular individuals, so to speak, representative of these particular groups. But again, I'd say you want to just focus on, say, a couple of these. Having said that, I want to now switch over to a different one, again, just to give you another sort of different perspective on things, just to say that there's no one way of doing this. So again, here's another example of the first project from a different group. In this case, it's looking at the Etobicoke Humane Society, and it gives a really nice, and again, it's not too lengthy. It's a good page's worth of material. I'd say, in fact, that's probably overkill, to be honest. I'd say that if you can be clear and concise and just give me the basic background information on your target website within, say, 2 paragraphs of, the length that you see here, that may well be sufficient. But the nice thing is that they also do is that they begin to look at, there are many issues with the core components of the current information architecture. These issues impact the organizational structure, labeling systems, nav systems, and search systems. More specifically, these issues are apparent through the following: duplicate content, hidden subsections of additional menus in the main navigation, the overall volume of pages, an overused blog post delivery system for content. So they're identifying up front the issues that they're beginning to find with the website, and saying, here's how we're thinking of improving things. And again, moving on, And again, here's another way of targeting. Justification for why the need for change. Why is this important in its current state? The IA for the Tobacco Humane Society is unstructured, redundant, and not intuitive for visitors. That is a great. I mean that's a great selling point. If it helps, one way you might want to think about this is think of yourselves perhaps as an independent digital agency, and you are approaching a potential client, or a client has said, hey, we're looking for how you might be able to tackle our website. So think about this. It may help to think about this, not just as providing information, on a project for your professor. Think about it in terms of, how are you selling this to a client? How can you actually, provide your best work to delve into the issues as you and your group see it for the target website, and how can you then go about systematically improving what you see on the website? So again, this particular group went into why will it help targeted users in the future. So they then talk about how it will actually improve things from the visitor's perspective in terms of the audiences that they found on the website, and just going down, analysis of the context, content, and users. Again, talking more about the organization, who are the stakeholders in the project, who are the intended audiences. In this case, they have three: volunteers, donors, and animal adopters. And again, those are all valid audience types for this type of organization, which again is a humane society, in this case located in Etobicoke. So again, you want to try to address the needs of these particular audiences. Who will be the users of the website? And again, in this case, they actually were able to find an actual mission statement, which is terrific, which actually says, specifically in this case, to protect, care for, and advance the welfare of animals. Perfect. What type of tasks should users be able to perform? They ought to be able to find volunteer opportunities, sign up for those volunteer opportunities, donate, and learn about the processes to adopt a pet. How is the current content created and managed? So this is their take on sort of the background information in terms of how the content is actually being arranged and actively managed. In this case, they're not actually mentioning a specific, say, like a web server or an authoring platform, but that's fine. In this case, they're simply talking about how it currently is managed. And again, this is important: what's working for users and what isn't. And they're now they're drilling down to what are some of the specific problems. So confusing hierarchies embedded within individual navigation dropdowns, some duplicate bottom button options with different content on both pages. Other examples include broken links, lack of breadcrumbs for page navigation, poorly embedded calendar widget, and more thorough explanation is then given below. Current technical infrastructure, again, in fact, they did in fact find quite a bit of information here. So in fact, WordPress, then they're using, in this case, an open source AMP stacks, citing for Apache, MySQL, and PHP. So yeah, and then this is all freely available software. So infrastructure costs are relatively low in this particular case. And then they go on to look at the individual content. Again, this is what I'm asking you to do, hopefully tonight, but definitely for the actual project. In this case, they're showing, the main navigation on the website, and then an example, in this case, of secondary nav links, and the type of behavior that happens in this particular case. And then they've gone and said, here is the full navigation, including the following menu and sub-item menus. So in this case, you can see it's not a huge website. It's enough to fill a page, and that's it. And hopefully the websites that you're looking at are of more or less the same size. And if it's a lot larger, then you should be focusing on a certain portion of that particular website. And then again, looking at then identifying other things which are on the page. In this case, things like quick links, and scrolling down, further information on the type of structure. Example of a page with sidebar navigation, which you can see there. And then, yeah, and then in this case, they've gone and done information on 3 representative users. Now, again, that's you don't have to take that particular approach. That's just what they did. This is kind of a more persona-driven way of doing things, not a requirement. If you can focus in on the audiences, that's all that's really required. Okay, so I'm just going to take that down and stop sharing my screen, because that's all I need to share, really.